Hi, people. Welcome back to my podcast. This is episode 40. And today's topic, we are going to be discussing 12th house planets, transits, you name it. 12th house is going to be the main topic today. So, everyone, welcome Astrodim.
Hello.
Hi. So if you want to just put your socials out there and talk about what you do. Before you get into that, I just want to mention that I reached out to Astrodim because I know that she's a 12th house and the 11th house specialist. And we have pretty much the same views on the 12th house and the same planets as well. So I thought it would be great to bring her on the show this week to just talk a little bit about the 12th house.
Yeah, and thank you so much for inviting me, by the way, too.
No problem.
So I'm an astrologer. I also do tarot, so more on the intuitive side, just generally a spiritual counselor. And I'm at Twitter at theastrodim.com. Well, not .com. Wow. Theastrodim. There goes that Mercury. So I'm on Twitter at theastrodim. Also on Instagram, _Astrodim, and on TikTok, theastrodim. So TheStrodim. I also have a website, astrodim.space.
Okay, cool. So, how long have you been talking about the 12th house? Like, at what point did you get into it?
Oh man, so it's been a journey for me, definitely, because I've been studying astrology since I was about 14, so more than half my life. And I would read books, and again, this is back in like the early 2000s. I would read books, and it would just have this doom and gloom vibe when it comes to the 12th house.
Oh, God.
It's so bad. And so I'm like, I'm sorry.
I hate how negative it is. I hate it.
Yes, it's awful. And so I'm like, okay, I don't feel all of this. Like, I get where they're coming from, but has to be more to this. And so I literally would just, my sun and Mercury is in the 12th. So it's really, really important in my chart. And so I would just look at all different types of perspectives, and still getting this doom and gloom and this like depressing interpretation of the placement. And like, so I was like, okay, well, let me see how I feel and let me try to relate this to my life. And it was literally trial and error for me, trying to create my own interpretation. Again, sun in the 12th. So I had to get confident in my own interpretation as well.
Yeah.
Which that was a whole different process too.
Oh, it's still a process for me though. Like, it's still, like, I could be good at anything, but I still question like my abilities. It's frustrating, like having like 12 house planets, right? But I wouldn't change them for anything. Like, I wouldn't. And even for me, when I was looking into 12th house sun, 12th house Mercury, a lot of people would say the most negative things about it. And it just makes me feel so like low. Like, is that how bad it is? Is it that bad? I have a group on Facebook called The Secret Mind of the 12th House People. And I put a poll up, I think it was last week, where I asked everyone, what's the most challenging planet in the 12th house? And literally everyone picked the sun. But I think everyone picked the 12th house sun. But I thought it can't be as bad as what everyone's saying it is, because I don't feel that. Do you get why? I don't feel that.
That's exactly how I felt too. And so, luckily, what saves me a little bit is my Leo moon and having like this proudness to me. And I'm like, okay, there has to be something.
Right.
Like, I'm like, I can't go out like this. Like, there has to be something. And so, yeah, I've had to figure out my own interpretation that felt right to me, and then tested it out on other people who had 12th house energy, literally asking folks, joining groups. I'm actually in your Facebook group, by the way, too.
No way.
But like, absolutely. Because, oh my gosh.
There.
Yeah, like you did an amazing video on the 12th house energy. I literally tell everyone to refer to this if they have any questions about the 12th house, because it was so good and I related to it so well. And I was like, I have to join this group. But I like joined similar groups about the 12th house as well. Tested it out on people, and I was like, okay, I think this interpretation is solid. And I can see why other astrologers and other people who may not have energy in the 12th house could get confused on what the 12th house really represents, because it's not so external. It's very internal, very personal, even spiritual.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like people who haven't got planets there have a harder time interpreting it. And obviously everyone's going to have a hard time, even if you do have planets there. But I feel like it's a little bit more easier when your planets are there, because there's just this unconscious feeling that just something doesn't feel right. I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, right, and I remember as far back as being like 4 years old, being at school and being very consciously aware of myself there, but everyone else is just busy living their lives, doing whatever they're doing. And it just felt like I feel myself being here. Does that make sense?
Yes, no, absolutely.
Like,
absolutely.
but like as a 12th house person, it's like, do people know that there's like times going right now, or like that I'm also stood here as well? Like, it's a really weird feeling. I just feel far too aware of what's going on around me, and no one else is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's absolutely. It's that, a lot of people say about the 12th house is, your subconscious and the unconscious, and representing the unconscious collective too. So we just have this weird internal awareness, like you said, that it's so interesting. I remember growing up too, I will often have questions like, who am I? Why am I here? Why is this my family? Like really young, like five,
I didn't
6.
have that. You do. I never had that.
Yeah, I had those weird moments where I'm just like, what's going on? Like, this is interesting. Like, knowing that there's like more to life than what's in front of you. Like, I've always
Yeah.
had that awareness.
But what's interesting is you're a Capricorn in the 12th house as well. And then
Mm-hmm.
like it's like being an old soul,
Yeah.
and from a very young age. I
Mm-hmm.
that question for myself, like being young, and I never questioned myself where like, oh, who am I? Why am I here? I just never felt as though I knew what I was doing with my life.
I see.
Felt
So,
I had a purpose, but I just never knew what. And when I was a teenager, I'm quite rebellious anyway. Midhaven's an Aquarius, Mars, Northman, etc.
mm-hmm.
Um, I always thought I'm going to end up in jail
Right.
because I
And
just cannot get life together. That's
and
how I.
and it's funny too, because if you read all the if you read all the astrology books about the 12th house, they love mentioning jail as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. But when you think about it, right? If you were to be in jail, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like, but you got a TV, you've got books. How would you feel about being in your own space and like for most of like, let's say maybe what, 4 months or something?
Right.
Uh,
Um, I feel like I would be comfortable, sadly. Like,
yeah, I know, right?
I
Yeah.
do. I feel like I would be comfortable because as long as like people kind of stay away from me, which, I know a couple of people who like unfortunately currently in jail, have been in jail,
Yeah.
who have similar energies to me where they're like, they stay in their little corner. They read their
Yeah.
books, they kind of get to themselves, and then when they want to, and if it's like free and open, you can go out and walk around and talk to other people, but then they just go back into their little corner. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it
Get into
gets
their books.
exhausting being around people, right? Oh my
Hmm.
day. It gets exhausting.
And I
Like,
can't. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, go on.
Oh, I can't imagine how what a 12th house sun person has to go through, though, having to deal with the range of folks and type of folks who've done like things that may have been not so great, who are actually even like in jail and innocent, and having to feel all
Oh,
those energies. Oh
yeah.
my God, I would stay by
Yeah.
myself for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And like
Mhm.
when you have a 12th house sun, sometimes you feel like you haven't got a place anywhere, like whether it be at school, in some cases at home, or just in society. So imagine if your society is in a jail and you don't have anywhere or anyone to identify yourself with. So you actually can end up very easily just hanging around with whoever. And I always mention this, right? But I was watching this documentary about like girl juveniles in America, and they go to this like juvenile prison or whatever. And I'm like, most of you guys gotta be 12th house sons or Neptune aspects or just the jacked up something, right? Because a lot of them were just behaving badly and there was no explanation to their behavior, right? And I know, with myself being a 12th house sun, I think I'm a bit lucky because it's an Aries, but there have been times where I can literally just switch up and become someone else because my friends are someone else. It's like my best friend, she's an Aries, right? When I'm with her, there's no such thing as rules. No such. But if I'm with like my Libra friend, it's no, we've got to be on time, we've got to do this and do that. Like, it's very easy for me to like adapt into my friends. And I think a lot of that is to do with being a 12th house sun, where a part of you can lack a sense of identity. Do you get what I mean?
Absolutely. That's and I also I also have a lot of 11th house too. I have a 12th and 11th house stellium. So me switching is normal, like, in being influenced by the people around me.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like,
Do
it's
you
weird.
think, can I ask you as well, right? Do you feel like your because you've got quite a very, very busy Twitter. Do you feel like a lot of your account is down to your 11th house?
That's a good question. I say yes. And the
Yeah.
reason why is because strange enough, like, you know, I have a busy Twitter, but it's nowhere near as big as like some folks who have like 20,000, even, you know, 30, 40, 50. And I would have them DM me, like these astrologers with this huge massive following, looking at me as an authority, and I have Saturn in the 11th. And I'm
Yeah.
like, really? Like, with my little like 9,000?
Yeah, you are. You gotta give yourself credit. You have to gas yourself up. Are you crazy? It's hard work to build social media, you know?
It
You
is.
have to give yourself credit.
Yeah, and you, okay, again, not only is my sun in the 12th, but it's in Capricorn, so you know I always like, you're tough. We're our like worst critic, I swear.
Yeah.
And so like, I'm just like, you're looking at me like with your big following, like what? But it's always surprising to me. And then I always get like, you know, the people who follow me too are weirdos just like me. There's my Uranus in the 11th, and a lot of people that come to me too is just like, really are just trying to find the answers and trying to understand life. Like, one of my most popular readings is the life purpose reading or career reading, and I think a lot of that has like the Neptune, like really just wandering aimlessly around the world trying to figure out where they fit in, you know.
Right.
So I definitely feel that my 11th house is so representative of my followers, and also too like my randomness and what I tweet and how I'm just like honestly aimless myself. I'm not the, you know, astrologer that's going to write a horoscope every week. You know what I mean? I'm not that.
Yeah.
It's just, if I'm in tune, I'm feeling something, I'm going to type it, and then, you know, it goes from there. And that's just so my 11th house.
You know what? Those astrologers that have to do like an article every week or every other day, kudos to them.
Yes, y'all are incredible.
I struggle like crazy. Just doing my podcast every week. They're really hard for me to do, like really hard. But I know that it's something that I feel like as 12th house people, we do need to learn to be a lot more. What is the word? Saturn word. What's the Saturn word? I've got the Saturn word. See, Mercury is just jacked up, right?
Yeah.
But we've got to be more disciplined is what I'm looking for.
Yes.
Very. We are not disciplined people
not at all.
Not at all. And I have to do that.
Yeah, it's funny because, what's interesting, and I want to know this about you too. You have a 12th house sun. 12th house suns run in my family. My oldest niece has one. My sister has one. It literally runs in the family. And so familial astrology is always just surprising to me. And, we really struggle with discipline. My oldest niece is actually way better because she has a well aspected sun in the 12th. She's an Aries as well. But my sister and I, we struggle with being disciplined. And it doesn't help too that we both have a grand fire trine. So things usually comes easy to us. Yeah. And so my discipline shit, it's really bad. And I try so hard to, because the Capricorn does come out sometimes, and sometimes I'm really on it. But then, I think a big part of Sun in the 12th as well, too, is the low vitality, because, the 12th house is also represented by the unknown energy. And with your vitality being in the unknown, the house of the unknown, where is it? It's all over the place. It's being exhausted by continuously picking up energies, similar to how Pisces suffer with that too,
Yeah, I find that very exhausting. Like I don't know if you guys call it the same thing over there, but we call gatherings drink ups.
Oh, we don't. Yeah, we just call
you
them.
Don't call it that. No.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
I don't know what we really call them. Just it varies because the country's so damn big.
So if I go to a drink up, it's where everyone's just drinking and talking. That's very exhausting for me, and it's just and this is why when I go to drink ups, I drink a lot because it kind of makes it easier for me to deal with energies of other people. And I will never forget, I went to drink up one time and there wasn't any alcohol that I like to drink. It was just champagne. I'm not really a champagne person. And one of the women there, oh my God, when she walked in, it was like a cloud came in, a dark cloud came in after her. And I sat next to her, and just being next to her was just, oh, why are you here? And it's like I can walk away from that. And to be fair, my Jupiter is in my first house, so I'm never ever down for too long. But other people, if someone's really down, it really gets me down. And it's like I need to just escape from this. I hate that feeling. Hate it. So I just try to stay away from people who were not vibrating on my level.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It kind of reminds me of what you were saying before and how we can match people really well. And it does take a while for us to kind of develop our own, personality and persona and everything. But I think a big part of us matching is matching people's emotions too. If someone's crying, I'm crying with them. Even if I'm not sad about anything, I'm just picking up their emotions. You know what I mean? If someone's, if
you see that, I think that's you, okay? Because my moon's jacked up as well.
Yeah.
And my moon's in Capricorn. It's also a Y conjunction with Saturn and Uranus. I do have Neptune there, and I do feel, but my moon is in conjunct my ascendant. I have a very hard time showing my face. If someone's upset, I get upset too, but it's like I've got to be strong, I just can't.
Right.
And if someone's crying, it's like I can't. I can't. It's really hard.
Especially with that Capricorn moon too.
Yeah. I think you've got a 7th house moon.
Yes.
It's a lot easier to empathize with other people. A lot easier.
Yeah, definitely. And I know a ton of Capricorn moons too. Very similar to you where, they would feel it to the point where I remember a couple of my friends were going through some tough stuff, Capricorn moons, and they wouldn't express it, but you can tell by how they look. They will break out. It will come out in one way or another, because the emotions are so repressed. So that is very true with Capricorn moons. You know, naturally you can't help but to kind of hold in, you know, the emotions. So that's so true. And a good lesson too within, you know, you have to always look at the chart holistically, because, you know,
Yeah.
my experience and your experience are very similar, but there are definitely a lot of differences.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at Mercury, because we both got
Oh,
Mercury.
yeah.
God, one of my,
Mercury, Mercury, Mercury.
I just can't stand my Mercury. I can't stand it. So my Mercury's in Taurus in the 12th house. It's also squaring my north and my south node and oppose my Pluto. It does trine my moon, Uranus, and Neptune, which
Mm-hmm.
I feel, but my Mercury is complete. Hold on, we didn't even talk about dad, did we?
Oh, we did not.
No,
Yeah.
no, wait, scrap the Mercury. Hold on one sec. We've got to talk about the dad side to things.
Yes.
This is important because, you know, we've got obviously like our situations are very different, but they're still very similar.
Yes.
So, what's your
Um,
relationship like with your dad?
so this was really interesting. Um, people say this about people with sun in the 12th, and I also have like moon in Leo too, which makes things dramatic, but my entrance to the world was even dramatic. And I wonder if you have a similar experience too, where you know, my mom and dad were actually in the middle of a divorce when I was, you know, born,
Mm.
or middle of separating. And my mom was literally trying to hide the fact that she was pregnant with me for the longest, just so
Oh
he can leave
my
her
God.
alone. Yeah. So it was like, I was just really dramatic. So there goes that, the dramatics there. Right. And then, you know, my dad, um, left when I was like one or two, in and out of my life, because he had his, like, you know, addictions that he was going through and everything. And so he really wasn't there. And he started coming back towards
Sorry,
my life in my teenage years. Sorry?
sorry. I was just kind of picturing your chart, right? Now,
Mm-hmm.
your parents had a divorce or going through a divorce because you are a seventh house moon.
Mm-hmm.
Divorce has come through the eighth house. So have you does your Cancer rule your eighth house?
Cancer rules my sixth house.
Oh, I
Yeah.
got it back to front. Virgo.
Yeah, Virgo rules my eighth. Um, and I use Placidus too. In my like first and seventh house is huge, so it's like late Virgo as well.
Yeah.
And so, but well, you know what's interesting? I was able to see a lot of it, and I wish I could remember right now. But using like solar arcs and progressive charts, I could see literally everything happening. I'm like, oh wow, this is incredible. It's so interesting. But so yeah, like my dad, after he kind of figured himself out and got himself together, he started visiting a little bit more often when I was a teenager, but I still had this resentment where I just was like, you knew you weren't here. Like my mom raised me. It was just really a funny, funny relationship until like when I was like 18, we had this big
Mm.
blowout. And I was like, I really need to let this go. You know, like you can't change the past. He's trying to create a better future. And so now me and him have a lovely relationship, still distant, but it's way better than it was before. Now, the interesting thing too is that I had a brother who passed away when I was around 3, and he's 19 years older than me, and
Mm.
he was very much like a father figure, to the point like he named me. He used to like always buy me clothes, kept me dipped, like
Oh,
he spoiled the crap out of me. And I even though I was 3 when he passed, I remember little bits and pieces of him because I was in his face all the time, right?
right.
And he passed away when I was 3. So it's kind of like any father figure that I could possibly have was just, nope, you can't. You know, it kind of felt like that. I was like, I can't have anything, you know, like it was just a really tough growing up. And then when I was like 14, getting into astrology and I saw it all played out, and I'm like, oh, wow, this is huge. But I saw this other astrologer, and I wish I remember her name.
Yeah.
She described having sun in the 12th similar to like how, Yeshua or Jesus, whatever Christ consciousness figure people, favor, how Jesus had Joseph, but Jesus God was Father God. It's kind of similar where you can't have that close connection to your human father because you need to go focus on Father God or whatever,
Right.
or source or whatever, you know what I mean? And I was
Right.
like, that is incredible, because as a child, I did often lead into spirituality, into source for guidance. I really did. And so it's a deep, interesting placement to have. Like, I always tell people who have sun in the 12th, like, most likely you either have a father that's an addict, your father has died, or they're not emotionally connected to you like that.
Yeah.
It's always something like that, something weird with your father, because you're supposed to kind of figure out your, I guess, um, have that fatherly figure with, not with necessarily God, because I know everyone has their different beliefs, but kind of figure it out on your own by digging deep within your subconscious and almost father yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm.
My dad's always been around,
Mm-hmm.
but my dad's a Pisces, man. He's very heavy. He's water dominant as well. My dad's got like 9 kids, 5 different babies' mothers,
Mm-hmm.
and he's in my life, but he's a dad that I've got to take care of. So he's like my child. You know, I
Yeah.
feel like when you have planets in the 12th house, it's like those planets are draining you as well. Like
Yes.
sun, dad drains the hell out of me. Mum can drain the hell out of you. Mercury, siblings, like there's just a lot of like energy. I can't be around my dad for too long. It's
Right.
very intense energy. How do you feel like about the men in your life? Because I know that, the sun can also represent men as well. When it's
Mm-hmm.
house, like I nah.
I have
Uh,
I have a weird relationship with the men in my life. Growing up, I used to hate boys and hate men, and I don't really know why.
mm,
I did not like them. I fucked with my brothers sometimes. I
yeah.
have, mind you, I have like 8 brothers, by the way, and 1 sister. It's a big family,
Oh,
and all same parents too, except for my adopted brother, of course. But yeah, like I mostly liked my brothers, but I would even have beef with them sometimes for no reason. And I did not like boys. But at the same time, because I was in a house full of boys and men, I did tend to like be almost like a tomboy myself. And so I would eventually, like, I softened up to them more. And there was even a point in my life where I was hanging out with mostly boys, but it
yeah.
was like a long time coming. I did not like, when I was really, really little. I remember like it was beyond the whole little girl thinking boys are yucky. Like I despised boys,
Oh, God.
despised them. But now, well, I'll say like teenage years, I became way more open. I had a lot of men and boys as friends growing up and whatever. And now my relationship with men is just, it's regular. Like it's nothing too big, but it was a heavy process when I was a child for sure. And I'm not quite sure why I hate them so much.
It's
It's
got to be a
really
past.
funny.
It's got to be a past life thing. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
12th house. I just feel like there's got to be something to do with men, or maybe you as a man in your part. We spoke about this anyway, but I do feel like it's probably down to you being a man, and you may have just hated your own actions so much in your past life, and it just makes you hate them now, or just not getting with
Yeah.
much.
Absolutely. I definitely so it's funny. I could see I had past life readings on an intuitive basis before. Same theme of me mostly being a male or being a man,
Yeah.
and being a very masculine man too. Um and it's so funny because I can obviously see it within my chart. Like there's certain places that I look like
I
intersected
can see.
signs.
I see them too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see that Mars. I see that Mars.
Yeah. That Mars, my Mars is like right on my midheaven, guys.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is. I
And
definitely
so is
can.
mine as well. How crazy is that? So is
Yeah,
mine.
I noticed that and I was like, wow, this is
Yeah.
crazy. We have a lot of conjunctions too, which is really cool.
Yeah.
It came up so perfectly. But yeah, like I definitely have a lot of times too, like I would date a guy, like I think about, I'll say about 80% of the guys I dated, in a, like if I dated them for months, eventually they will end up telling me, wow, I feel like the woman in a relationship. And I'm like, what do you mean you feel like the woman in a relationship? But they
Yeah.
will often tell me that. And I think it's a lot of my past life self coming through, and, just having this masculine energy. And I can honestly see myself, um, well, I'll say this. I had an intuitive tell me that I was mostly a man in a lot of my past lives, but then I decided that, you know what, I need to focus on yin energy and feminine energy. And
Mm.
I wouldn't be surprised if, like, on a soul level, I was totally against being a man. And so I made myself not like them so I can be more feminine. I kind of wonder if something like that was happening, on a soul level, what I was like, okay, I have to stop being so masculine. And so now I hate anything that's masculine or any type of male when I was growing up. And then I was able to balance it eventually. But yeah, like I've had past life readings confirm that information about me being extremely, extremely masculine in my past life, which is so funny to me.
Yeah, that's exactly how my chart will sort of anyway, how my chart kind of expresses itself. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like even now, yeah, like I see like how I deal with men. And I've got a very happy Venus. My Venus is in Pisces, it's exalted. Um,
Ooh.
my 11th house, it trines my Mercury, my Pluto is very happy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But relationships, that it's like there's two different sides of me, and it's either you're going to get the Venus in Pisces or the Cap Moon.
Mm.
It's the Aries that I feel is like weakened at times, and that to me, when someone brings that out of me, and I find other people's Taurus and Aries energy brings out my Aries so much more. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
Taurus because Taurus sits in my 12th house, but they get me angry to a next degree. And
Oh,
the anger,
Taurus energy.
yeah, and
Ah.
that for me, yeah, is my Aries because I'm constantly defending myself against Taurus,
Mm.
constantly, and it just feels like a man, like it's like a man's going to erupt from my body. And sometimes, like even like a couple of years ago, there's been times where I've like been able to actually like fight men, and like I'm gonna lose. Obviously, I'm a woman, right?
Right.
But I can't. I'm not thinking about that. Once I'm mad, that's it.
Right.
I just feel like
I
in past life, I know that a man killed me. I just know that he killed me. Still know who it was.
mm, right. And it's I actually was even looking a little bit deeper into the 10th house and its relation to death.
Yeah.
Um and with us having Mars, in the 10th house,
Mm.
I kind of feel the same way. I actually had past life regressions,
Mm.
and I've had past life readings, and each time I'm reviewing my death, a man did kill me.
Yeah.
So it's so it's so crazy. And it's so true. It's a wild thing. And my Venus is not too bad either. I mean, I do have Venus opposite the moon, which I don't think it's the most terrible, but
Mm.
it's not the cutest either.
I had that
Um,
for the return last year. Boy, did I struggle with that. Oh my God.
yeah.
I,
Uh,
I felt that.
Yeah. I often, literally all my life, what I want versus what I need.
Yeah.
It's interesting, but, um, it's not the worst. At least not like a square or anything. But and then my Venus is not. It's not It's not terrible. It's not the worst placed Venus, but it's, man. Relationships are weird with me too. Very weird. Um, and I remember when I was growing up, I used to fight boys and
Me
sometimes would
too.
even win.
Yeah, me too. So did I.
Yeah. And so it's this weird thing. Like, it's like you have legitimate beef with men and
And
masculine
it's not like,
energy.
as a 12th house person, yeah, it's not like you're trying to start something.
Right.
You're not. You're just like, they're coming at you, and it's like, I'm going to have to defend myself now.
Mm-hmm.
There's been
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times I've actually, like, this is like primary school, and I was a lot younger, and I would fight boys. My only fights in primary school was boys. And I've won every time.
Yep.
Every
Yep.
time.
It's the craziest thing. And I
Yeah.
loved in the video that you did with 12th house, you mentioned how, people would just keep just pushing your boundaries. Like, that is just such a 12th house thing, just pushing and
Yeah.
pushing and like evading and evading. And then when you blow up, you're crazy. And you're like, what?
Why are we focusing on my reaction? Like, let's just look at the cause of the situation here. Like, yeah,
Exactly.
I burned the house down, but you made me do it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's a, oh my gosh, us 12th housers, man, we be going through it.
We do, for real. So let's talk about Mercury now, because we both got Mercury in the 12th house, and this is just, it's just so frustrating for me.
Mm-hmm.
Just can't
And
stand.
and my Mercury's not nicely aspected either, so it's just a hot mess.
I can't lie, you do not sound like a Mercury in Capricorn at all.
Yeah, I know. I believe it's because my Leo moon can't help but to be expressive,
Yeah.
add a little pizzazz.
I feel like
Um,
I'm more like a like a Capricorn Mercury than you do.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's so true. And I think a lot of it too is connected to my Mercury even being in the 12th house. You can't help
Yeah.
but to kind of read the room, logically
Yeah.
process it, and then act accordingly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and then, like, my Mercury's conjunct my sun. It is also my third house is ruled by Taurus too, which I feel like out of all the Mercuries, like a Taurus Mercury probably has more of a lovely expression, when it comes to like Taurus or Mercury. Excuse me, third house or Mercury and Taurus. I feel like it's the to me personally, I think you guys have a better way of expressing oneself a little bit, knowing to kind of understand what's valuable to speak on, what's not valuable. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, but how I feel. Oh my god. I really appreciate it.
yeah, like I remember I was telling you too. It's like, you actually, I love how you do your videos. I think it's
Everyone
pleasing, but
says, like, I heard now
yeah.
say that I did it, but everyone says, watch my videos. They're just so easy to understand, and I'm like, this is how my mind is. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like in like primary school, to make you remember how to spell a word, you gotta like sing it, right? That's
Yes.
literally how I learn astrology. Is just through remembering that this is linked to that and that's linked to this and da da da. Like, it's very like structured like that. So I don't,
Mm-hmm.
because there's certain stuff, like if you've not done like a particular planet or rising for time, I'm gonna forget that. So I have to keep on having like a particular routine about how I go about like expressing a planet or a house or whatever, because I will forget it. And it's mad because
Mm-hmm.
Mercury Taurus isn't like a forgetful placement, but I'm a 12th house Mercury and it's jacked up. I need extra support.
Exactly. Exactly. I wonder if you've had a similar experience, but I've had with my Mercury in the 12th, I actually used to jumble my words a lot growing up, and I used to speak a little crazy. You know what I mean? Totally, like, it wasn't really a speech impediment, but my words didn't come out clearly all the time. Did you experience that too growing up?
I still have that problem. What? What? I can't speak for shit. I can't speak. Like, first of all, I speak very slow, yeah. Second of all, I found out that I had a lisp on YouTube, yeah, because everyone's like, have you got a lisp? And then my boyfriend's like, right, you got a lisp in it. And I'm like, okay, maybe I can say, yes, I have got a bit of a lisp. Yes, I can admit that, because I never ever realized that before. And also, certain words that I cannot pronounce for the life of me, I trip on my words. Like, everything about talking is hard for me. I can read perfectly fine, yeah, but I cannot speak.
Yeah.
I can't speak.
It's the craziest thing. I think too, I know with you have Sun and Mercury in the 12th, but your Sun and Mercury don't aspect.
Yeah.
And I really feel that even though it's sort of a combustion, I guess, some people would call it that, but with my Sun and Mercury conjunct, the Sun really helps me a lot. You know what I mean? I think that's the reason why I'm able to, even articulate certain things. I actually get complimented a lot for my speaking, and I'm like, really?
Yeah,
like,
you have like a radio voice. Like, your voice is really like very like pleasant on the ear.
Oh, thank you.
Welcome.
It's funny because I used to actually I used to do commercials in the radio and like the little bits for DJs and stuff.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yes,
And
you have that voice.
and it's so funny. I think it's really the support of the Sun that's helping me like be able to be expressive in my communication. Even when I feel like, oh, I messed up there, other people are like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, you didn't hear that? But again, your worst critic, I swear. We're our worst critics.
How are you with writing?
Similar to speech, in which, I had a hard time writing. I have a funny, like, it's funny now, but I was like going through it at the time. So like, I went to, I don't know if do you guys have differences between like public, charter, private schools over where you're at? Yeah. So we had, so I came from a public school, so it's just, you know, generally paid by the government, whatever. And not the best education, but it's still, I'm from a part of from the States that's like, they actually care about their kids. So it's not the worst, but it's not the best either. And so I remember like all through grade school, it was like honor roll student, because I just liked, it was more of a pride thing for me. I barely tried. I just wanted to be like the best at something, there's that Leo moon, right? And so I like swore that I was like one of the best writers. Like, no one could tell me anything. I went to college. Oh my God. Smack of reality. Like, it was insane. I was like, what? Me get a C on a paper. I thought it was like, oh my God, I was having a fit. And the cool thing about Mercury, though, that, this is my experience with Mercury in the 12th, is that we can kind of flip the switch and, kind of utilize our gifts a little bit. And so I was able to, write however these professors wanted me to write, so I can get that A, so I can prove that point to show that, like, no, I am good at this, And so I was able to like flip it and, end up doing good my freshman year. But like the first like few months, oh my God, my grades were terrible. And I thought I was so good. Like, I thought I was an excellent writer. And so I have like, similar to my speech, it's like, in the beginning, my writing was like, and then it just grew into something better. So now I'm sort of a better writer. I haven't I write my blogs on my website, but I don't really, I just like write and then send it off. I really don't review, or like, I really don't like draft it or anything like that, which I think that's another Mercury in the 12th thing. When you're done, you're done. You don't want to even look at it anymore.
God.
And so I have that definitely with me too. But yeah, writing's a little weird where like I'm more of a good creative writer than a
Right.
kind of literary nonfiction type of writer. Yeah.
Right. Well, I can't really write, so I had to get someone to write for my website. One of my
Mm.
friends put the articles on there, and his like, shout out to Cameron, but his ability to write is like what you would find in a published book.
Mm.
Amazing. And I can't write like that. I just don't know how he does it, but I can't do that. I do like shorter blogs on my website, like
Right.
maybe like 300 characters or something, or letters or words. 300 words. 300 words. See what I mean? 300 words. That's what I do on my website. Those ones are easier. But I remember in school, I actually got a really good result on one of my papers, and it was down to free writing. And
Mm.
ask you to kind of, they start the sentence off for you and you're supposed to carry it on. And whenever I got to a point of doing that, I would always be the last in the classroom to do it, because I enjoyed it so much, because my imagination, there is no limit to it when it sits in that box.
Yes.
And I remember being rewarded for that, and I was so like, oh my god, is she sure? Again, questioning my abilities, right?
Yes.
Was she sure? But she really made me feel good about the paper, and I did very well on it. But that's one thing that I'm very good at, is just the free writing, just
Mm-hmm.
nation to talk about anything. But if you said to me, here, write about the mafia or something, I'm like, okay, but I'll try. No, I can't do it.
Right. Yeah, we definitely need our freedom.
Yeah,
And through that freedom and us using that imagination, it really inspires others. Again with that 12th house, like unconsciously influencing the collective. Um, a lot of celebs, a lot of artists actually, excuse me, have significant 12th house placements. And I think it's because that they've tapped into that part of their subconscious where they can kind of churn out these influential pieces in artistry, to the collective, influence them enough so they can literally do it as a living.
yeah,
Uh, but that part of like, you know, the 12th house where you're just so doubtful. Oh my gosh. Like
mm,
I'm still working through that. Knowing this placement, knowing that I had it for so long, I'm still working through the self-doubt. Like of course I've gotten a lot better, but yeah, like I'm continuously questioning myself. It's ridiculous. It really is.
it's gonna be a lifelong thing with us anyway. But it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't. We've got to just like give up, in whatever we want to do. I don't think life is supposed to make us do that. We just got to get on and just get with it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Um, so I know you mentioned too about like the father and the son,
Mm.
um, and Mercury, with siblings in the 12th house. I've
Yeah.
already kind of
But,
mentioned like my side of it. I've lost three siblings.
I
The
just
12th
can't
house is,
do that.
yeah, it was tough.
Right.
The interesting thing about it, so like one of my siblings that passed, it was before I was born, but
Right.
I like he came to my dreams a lot. And so
Really?
I have a really close relationship with him even though I never met him in person. It's
Yeah.
very strange. He's both of my biological brothers are with me a lot who passed and through
Mm.
spirit. I see them in my dreams. They come, they make little, they do little things where it's just like I know it's them, you
Yeah.
know. Even one time I remember, this is such a weird story, but we I'm over in Boston, so my friend was having a bachelorette party or whatever, and the person was supposed to teach us like a strip tease, how to like do one of those like dance strip tease thingies, but the instructor was also a medium,
Right.
and my brothers came through her,
No
And
way.
she literally pulled me aside and was like telling me things that was like small things, not something big, but small things that were going to happen. And it did within like a week or two,
Oh my
saying
God.
things that she shouldn't have known about my siblings, about
Mm.
my family. She even mentioned my sister's name, and me and my sister actually were not talking to each other at the time. We were kind of mad at each other, and she
Yeah.
actually said my sister's name. Now my sister's name's Aaliyah. No one is gonna quickly think that name, as you know.
Yeah.
It was wild. But yeah, so I luckily, through spirit, I had a connection with my siblings. But I also had a foster, or adoptive brother. My mother was in an adoption process, but he was just older at the time, so she was like, whatever,
Right.
you're my son, right? He passed too, and that was really, really
Oh my God.
crazy. But also too, with my living siblings, it's a weird relationship with that too. We're close
Wait,
knit.
can I just ask, did they all pass from like health issues? Was it all health issues?
So with my biological brothers, it was health issues. They had a disease called cystic fibrosis,
Right.
which is interesting because the disease, well, now people are realizing it, that a lot of different people have it, but mostly people that have it are Irish, and we're Black American. So I mean, something had to happen, right? I don't know how exactly, but something had to happen. Weird thing about it too, it's a genetic disease, and no one in my family's history had it. Like my mom's side, my dad's
That,
side, they're like, we don't even know what this disease is,
yeah.
which is very connected to the 12th house, the unknown,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so crazy. And then um my brother, who was my foster brother, the adoptive brother, he actually committed suicide.
Right.
So yeah, it was that was a crazy experience within itself too. But yeah, like with my living siblings too, we're close knit. Of course, we'll ride for each other, but the relationship's a little bit weird because, like I said before, my oldest brother is 19 years older than me, and
Yeah.
they were born in clumps, like, four born here, and then 5 years later, I'm born by myself. And so they all like are really close with each other, and it's like, and they like leave me out almost by
Are you
accident.
the only 12th house son?
Huh?
Are you the only 12th house son sibling?
My sister's a 12th house son.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I don't, but the thing is with her, which is really funny, is there was a long time where she was the only girl. And so she was kind of felt separated then, and to the point where she wanted to be separated. So she would like tell the boys to go away while she just
Yeah.
goes up in her room. You know what I mean? um, and it's funny because me and her, like, being sisters, even though she's 9 years older than me, we always had some closeness to us.
Yeah.
But it's, now we realize it's probably the 12th house sun too. We get each other and we know how
Yeah.
to interact with each other's energy
Yeah.
without being too exhausting.
Yeah. Yeah, that is me and my sister as well. My little sister, she has Pluto and Venus in her 12th house.
Ooh,
Yeah, I know. I know. I know.
yeah.
We have a 6 year age gap, but she deals with, like, she's got so much going on, and I'm not exactly sure what to do with my Mercury. So obviously I've got a 12th house Mercury, it's in Taurus. Again, it squares my nodes, it opposes my Pluto. And I've got 8 siblings, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm close with 2 because they're both under my mum.
Mm.
I've got an older brother who's 7 years older than me, and my little sister who's 6 years younger than me. But my
Mm.
brother, who is a Taurus, the Taurus Sun, Moon, Mars, Mercury retrograde, all
Oh
in
my
the
gosh.
all in the house. Yeah. But if you
Wow.
can, you're thinking Scorpio.
Mm.
Like, oppositions are very similar, but you think Scorpio because this guy is so secretive,
Mm.
very shady lifestyle. Okay. Um, but he sits in my 12th house. and my Mercury is conjunct all of his personal planets, and he can be sat in a room. I know what he's thinking. He hasn't got to say anything. And I feel like Mercury sits in here, and if someone else's planets are conjunct your Mercury, more so Mercury, it's like you guys are communicating without talking. You just know what's going on. The relationship that I have with him is horrible. It's like, I have never got on with him. Like, he used to burn my hair when I was a kid. And, you know, like, as a girl, a black girl as well, burning my hair. You crazy? Yes. And it's like, you know, I've got Neptune conjunct my moon. So as a baby, I would cry about everything. And it's like, someone save me. Someone save me. No one saved me. So for years, I endured like and let me just tell you how deep it gets. Because remember, my Taurus is also intercepted. I'm lacking a lot of this Taurus energy. I don't know anything about security or stability. Like, growing up, I witnessed, like, my brother has been a businessman all of my life. Yeah. So I don't know if you guys know what businessman is in America.
I thought you meant like literal businessman, like entrepreneur. Not that kind of businessman. But he's been a businessman all my life, pretty much. And what he's done is he's been able to buy the most nicest things and look very like dapper and fresh. Like, he spends a lot of money on himself. Leo rising, Taurus in the 10th. You know how it goes, right? Oh yeah.
And I've got Chiron in my second house. So he would talk about like the clothes that I would wear, how I did my makeup, and, you know, make me feel very insecure.
Right.
So growing up, I resented him so much. But at the same time, now that we're both adults, and now that I see him, yeah, I see, it's like I now know how to deal with him. So he's actually helped me quite a bit when it comes to finances and security, whereas he hasn't verbally like taught me about it. It's just what I see. Right. So I know how to kind of become financially comfortable without having to do what he does, but also knowing that, okay, I'm not going to spend my money on what you're spending your money on. I'm going to invest my money. But I see how important it has been to be secure with him, but I'm going to be secure, but in a different type of way, not in that material kind of way that he's very much used to. I can't do that. I need like assets that are going to be profitable in the future. Do you get what I mean?
Right.
But that, to me, like, he's the first man or boy that I've ever fought with. And he's a big part of my life that I feel that has given me a lot of issues with men.
Right. And you know what's interesting too about that is, you know, the 12th house, again, the unknown, the unseen, even within us. I've noticed a lot when I do like synastry readings, a lot of people get annoyed by people whose planets sit in their 12th. And it's because they're making them see things that they necessarily don't want to see, making them realize things deep within their subconscious that they didn't realize, but they're not ready. Yeah. So it's so deep.
I always call the 12th house like a dark room, like the light's just not working in there. And someone comes in and it's like a light bulb in that room. So the house person needs to see what that person's bringing to that person in that room. They need to see it. And I think, you know, even for me, going back to my brother, for a long time, I didn't want to see, but how he was showing me, I couldn't do it that way. I see it now, but you've got to navigate. You've got to do your own work.
And that's the thing, you know, technically you guys are both entrepreneurs. It's very similar, but just one is one route, one is another, you know. Very interesting. Yeah. And like, I always say this too, like, I love Capricorns. I can never date one. And it's because it's most of my 12th house. And I don't feel like dealing with that. Let me figure it out on my own.
You wouldn't date that.
It's just too much, you know, and I know how Capricorns are too. They'll like practically tell you, like, listen, you need to do this, you need to do that. and I like figuring things out on my own, you know.
Yeah.
I could, yeah, people with Capricorn energy, I love them and all, you know, but I always keep them a little bit distant, because like I'm not trying to have someone tell me how to live my life, you know. That's just, I can't stand that. That's not good for anyone that has 12th house energy or an Aquarius rising. Someone telling them how to handle their life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How
it's
do you
so
feel
interesting.
like having Capricorn ruling the 12th house? I actually find Capricorn to be quite a struggle in the 12th house, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
It's
everything's a struggle in there, but I find Capricorn, like in particular.
Yeah. So kind of back to almost the father thing, you know, the sun's connected to father, but also Saturn. So I
Yeah.
feel like that reiterated the father thing with me, with you know, not my father not only not being there to give me some sense of authority and control and to be an authoritative figure in my life, but also with the sun, you know, me not really getting that guidance that I needed there too. But another thing that's really interesting that I've noticed with my experience with Cap in the 12th is I mean, I'm a lot better now, but I really restricted myself when it came to the things of the unknown. Like, you
Yeah.
know, I have this great interest in it. I will go but so far, but then I'd be like, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
And so like, even like, you know, a lot of books will say, oh, 12th house people, you know, you got to be careful, you're going to be an addict, you know, you got to, you know, take, you know, if you take certain drugs or you get into, you know, alcohol or whatever, you have to be careful. Not me, really. I restrict myself because I don't want myself to go so far, like where I'm totally vulnerable, you know. So there goes that restriction of like
Mm.
getting deeper within myself, whether it's through something not so great as like being an addict, or even if I wanted to kind of go deep within spirituality too. I
Yeah.
often struggle with like meditation, because I'm always like, what's that noise? What's going on? Did I see
Yeah.
something? You know,
Yeah.
just very restrictive, trying to have authority over my space, my psyche, even within my subconscious, to the point though where I'm repressing it. And that's the thing with Capricorn energy is we think control equals repress, and it doesn't. And control is like facing it and then dealing with it and letting it go afterwards. You know, that's true control, like really taking ownership. And I think that's a big part of Capricorn's issue, and why we are like the mountain goat and forever climbing this mountain trying to reach up to the top, is because we are like taking a route that's someone else's route, but not necessarily ours. Or we are, you know, being restrictive with how we should do things, when we actually have authority and control and do things our own way. That's when we have authority, and that's when things finally come together.
Yeah.
um and I feel like that's why a lot of, you know, Capricorns, they start to thrive after their Saturn return, because they really realize that, like, oh, I can do this my way. I can have authority. I can have control over my life. Like, cool. So, yeah, it's been really interesting. It's something that, again, I'm still working on. You know, a 12th house is so deep within like subconscious, unconscious, like the stuff that's deep, deep down that you really don't face a lot. I've been working heavy on opening myself up and realizing, you know, my subconscious truth, really. And it's really interesting for sure. I restrict myself too much sometimes, and I need to like
Right.
loosen up a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
Even with it, when it comes to like, you know, with my sun and Mercury being in a 12th, even when it comes to self-expression, even when it comes to communication, there's a lot of things that I don't say. There's a lot of
Yeah.
things that I don't express.
Yeah.
You know, and I just keep it to myself, and I like express it to myself, and that's it. So it's an interesting space for sure.
Mm. I've got Aries ruling my 12th house. And it's a very strange feeling, man. Like
Mm,
Aries, I get a lot of my energy from being on my own. I can just sit here. And yes, I talk to myself. Yeah, Mercury in the 12th, we talk to ourselves a lot, right?
Yes, we do.
And I will get this big burst of energy, and it's like, okay, I've got to go out. I've got to do this. It's just like I can kind of motivate myself in my own surroundings. And I'll never forget. This is actually how I started YouTube. Actually, I had Uranus conjunct my sun, and it just went into my 12th house. And at the time, my life was just so chaotic, and I was in like the countryside away from my friends and family at the time, and I was talking to myself more than ever. I was like, let me just put this shit on YouTube. And I remember I put on this bright red wig, yeah, and I started talking about why I don't date Scorpios. And then from then I started getting lots of views, so I just started trolling. So I'm very good, like as an Aries, right? Aries is pretty much just the troll. So I started a lot from like YouTube, but it kind of developed into like this. But when I look at my Aries in the 12th house, I love the fact that it's the unconsciousness that gets me motivated to want to know more. Like it's the unconsciousness that makes me feel like I need to understand things, but also like helping other people to make sense of this as well makes me feel good. Most are 12th house people, you know, and I love doing those charts for those people because they need to know what the hell's happening with my 12th house. How do I deal with it? And it's not always doom and gloom like what everyone thinks it is. And you was mentioning that you went through Pluto transit through your 12th house. This is a transit that a lot of people are afraid of. Can you please let them know that's not that bad, please?
It really isn't. I promise you, it's not that bad. You just have to really, honestly, I think what makes any position bad is you not opening up to the actual energy in which the placement is trying to reveal to you. And so, for instance, Pluto kind of going into my 12th, Pluto's about transformation, empowerment, intimacy, vulnerability, all these things, right? That's secrets and confidential information and stuff like that, right? And so when it hit my 12th, I was like watching it. It was almost like a countdown or something. Because you can't help, like, I don't understand people, like, even astrologers like me, I'm always like, okay, but let me prepare for this. I want to make sure that when I approach this transit, I do it right, So I was thinking, I was like, okay, so I was born with this chart for a reason. So my soul needs to realize things that's deep within my subconscious connected to Plutonian things, such as, again, intimacy, vulnerability, empowerment. And so what I'm going to try to do is open myself up to these things, try to figure out why I'm not as vulnerable as I should to be to other people, try to figure out, why I see, emotional bonding a certain type of way and I don't like it, why I don't empower myself like I should. And if you take that approach, I swear you kind of avoid some of the pitfalls, because I kind of feel that, a lot of placements that we go through are like, and if it like things happen to you externally, it's a mirror. It's almost like metaphysical, psychosomatic, like it's a result of something that you need to resolve, and you're not resolving it. And so something external is happening so you can face it, so you can think about it. And so I try to like jump ahead and be like, okay, this is about to happen, so let me start working on this. And that's what I've been doing. And I was telling you earlier, Pluto just went through my sun. It was not bad at all. Not bad at all. I'm not going to say that, I didn't think dark things sometimes, not dark as an evil, but like, dark as in like heavy shit. Oh, I did. But with me, with the MC and Scorpio, like that's light work, I'm used to that, right? But I honestly felt like I was becoming Plutonian when I was realizing my own power, getting back to my Black American roots and doing hoodoo and like really kind of uncovering why I don't express myself the way I should express myself, what subconscious issues that I have that is blocking me. And it just was amazing. Like it was literally the phoenix kind of rising from the ashes type of vibe. It doesn't have to be that bad if you really open yourself up. Like if you try to combat the placement and the energy that it's giving you, then it's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult because you're trying to fight what the universe is trying to show you.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I can say though that with Pluto kind of transiting over my Mercury right now, you know, it's starting to make me like process and think a lot of like, darker type of things like death and, transformation and like, the eerie stuff. And 2020 has been such a crazy year too. It didn't help, with you constantly thinking about things that are like dark.
Yeah.
However, I had to remind myself because I was starting to get really anxious and thinking that someone was going to die, especially with the history I just told you about a lot of people dying in my life, right? But then I'm like, no, I need to face something. This is something I need to transform within my mind. So I have to open myself up. There's some subconscious issues here that I need to work out. So honestly, ever since then, I had that realization. I haven't been as anxious as I usually am about death and stuff like that, especially with my Virgo 8th house, But yeah, I'm telling you, like having that approach to things, it really, I don't know, things don't really, it's not as dramatic externally, I actually just posted something on Twitter too. It's kind of off subject a little bit, but I was warning people about Mercury retrograde, and I was telling people, it's like, listen, if you follow the energy and reflect on wherever Mercury or any retrograde planet is, you really can be successful and not have to deal with the external BS. And I was telling people, like, listen, it's been 3 years and none of my exes have hit me back during the retrograde season. So I think I found the key here,
Damn.
And
You be doing
usually
extra shit over there.
Yeah.
3 years. I can't go months.
I had to deal with that horribly, like, and the funny thing is I hear them asking about me, but they don't come to me no more. And I think it's because that I'm like, okay, this is retrograding right now, or this, Pluto is going through my 12th, or this placement is happening right now. The universe wants me to see this, and I have to face it and deal with it and work through it internally. And honestly, me doing that, things don't happen to me externally like that anymore, where it's dramatic and extra and annoying, that's just been my help a lot. So yeah, all Pluto's trying to do is help you transform what, your subconscious mind and become a stronger, person and spiritual being. So, allow it to happen, Pluto, I'm telling you, Pluto transiting or any energy transiting your 12th is not that bad when you open your mind and willing to change to be a better person on a subconscious level.
Right. I've got something else I forgot to mention.
Mm-hmm.
We need to talk about enemies.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. We need to talk about this. So I was talking to one of my friends about this like a couple months ago. And obviously I've got like a website, but people scam me online, right? Like my actual website, scam me online.
What?
And I know that there is a theme. And I've been scammed by Aries suns a lot. Yeah. Aries suns and people who have very heavy Mars placements. It's my 12th house. It's like how my website is, right? You go on there, you book a reading, and you wait for me to deliver the reading. But everything is available on the website. You can see everything there. And when you're like heavy with Mars, yeah, sometimes it's like, I want something right this second now. I want it right now. So there's been times where I've had like clients that have like recalled the payment and not told me. And
Oh my wow.
and the thing is, I have everything patterned up on my website, so I know when someone does anything, but I won't say anything, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
they'll say, I'm waiting for my reading, but you've recorded the payment. So what are you talking about? You've recorded the payment. You don't want to have the reading done now. Oh, no, I haven't. But it's like I get notified by their bank that has been recalled. Like you,
Jeez.
and this is why, especially with my jacked up Mercury, everything that I do needs to be done like thorough. Like my Cap Moon is not playing around. Everything has to be done thorough because I know that there are a lot of people out there who will just try a thing with me. And there were some people who was like, oh yeah, I've paid you and you haven't done my reading or whatever, but you can't give me a transaction number. Like you need to give. I remember I said, like, my website is so patterned up, there's nothing that I can't see.
Right.
But I know that it's always Aries suns. It's always Aries suns with me.
That is interesting. Um, it's weird with me with Capricorns. It's literally good or bad, rarely any in betweens.
Yeah.
And it's so strange. And so like I've had Capricorn people who try to act like my friend and then like set me up to get jumped. I've had that happen
Oh my
before.
God.
Yeah, her birthday was like a day before mine. You know, I always remember that. But yep, I remember that. And it was funny because you know, I
That is
guess she
funny. What?
yes. Listen, so the funny thing about it though is that like I didn't get jumped because I don't know if she didn't think I had a lot of friends, but I had like a squad of like 11 people. And so they're like, they want to meet you at the corner. So I had all my people with me. And I'm like,
Yeah.
where they at though?
Right.
Where they at?
Right.
Because, you know, again, our Mars in the 10th, we're ready to fight. We'll fight now.
Right.
We'll fight. Especially when I was younger, I was reckless as hell. So, you know, it's funny because I honestly, with my Venus in the first and my moon in the seventh, I actually hate fighting, but I would do it though. You know what I mean? Like I will
Yeah.
do it, but I hate it because it exhausts me.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like it was weird. So I would have other Capricorns. I have another friend who's her birthday is the day before mine. One of the sweetest, best people in the world. It's literally great or terrible. There was a guy, same birthday, January. My birthday is January 7th. Another January 6th person. He went from really, really awesome to really, really shitty in one friendship, one friendship line. So it's like, what is going? It's really weird. And so I think a lot of that is connected to the 12th house.
Mm.
Where the relationship's either beautiful
Yeah. All
or
there.
it's
Bad.
terrible.
Yeah.
And you know
I, sorry,
that's
go
the
on.
that's the interesting thing about like the 12th house too is that you know 12th house does, I mean, I know a lot of astrologers hate this, but you know I really feel this, it connects with astrology greatly. 12th house is connected to Pisces and Neptunian energy, and sometimes like that energy, like when it's exalted, it's very beautiful, it's magical, it's spiritual, it's this natural deep connection that you have. And then sometimes it could be really like you have that face of reality and you drop down and it's like terrible, you know? And
Yeah.
so I think that my relationship with Capricorns is connected to that, where some people, because I aspect, you know, their energy well, like my charts and their charts aspect well, we get along. But there's some people who it's really, really bad. But it's just a highlight in Capricorn because it's my 12th house. And it's funny too, because it's like hidden enemies where, you know, that problem, that thing I told you about where this girl was trying to set me up, she was acting like my friend at first.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I think
so,
that's your 11th as well, isn't it?
huh?
You got Saturn in your 11th house as well, isn't it?
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. So
That rules
I've had
house.
terrible friends.
Yeah.
Terrible friends. Yeah, very in, they're very sneak too, where they'll either switch up on you, or they might have been a plan all along, and I find out and I'm like, what?
I can't believe that. That is so extreme. You see, shit like that would just make me just like, that would make me really do some harm on someone, you know, and that's not even like me, but it's the defense. If I've got to defend myself, there are no rules now. There's no rules now.
Right. And I honestly, I feel there's nothing wrong with that either. It's just that with me, I have this thing where I'm like, I'm fixed dominant. I have a lot of fixed energy. So there are times where I'm just like, no, I'm going to get this person. But there's a lot of times too where I'm like, whatever, like it's fine.
Yeah,
I'll,
yeah,
it's just, it gets tiring after a while.
yeah.
Like, and I think a little bit of that too is connected to, I have like significant fire energy, not a lot, but significant. And fire energy, when they're done, they're done. Like, yeah, they'll beat you up in the moment, but if the fire's not there anymore, if things die down, they're like, all right, whatever. Yeah.
We need that buzz. And to sound off on what I was saying, like if I have to defend myself, there's been times where it's like I just can't, and it's almost like a defeated feeling.
Yes.
It's like I can't fight anymore. Like, you've killed me so much now, and I just leave it. And one thing I've noticed is when I've left it to someone, something bad happens to them, man. It may take a couple of years to happen, but I hear about it and it happens, and a part of me just feels like I feel good. And let me just mention this. Oh my god, yeah. So my Taurus stellium brother, who sits in my 12th house, always saying to me, if someone hurts you, let me know. Like, remember I'm saying, like, it's like he's a Scorpio.
Right.
One ever does something to me, he comes in and he deals with it.
Right.
There's no rules when he's playing the game. So I prefer not to tell him certain stuff because there's no rules with him. I remember being a child, yeah, and I was playing outside, and again, fighting with a boy, right? Fighting with a boy, but this boy bust my lip. Blood everywhere. And then everyone's like, oh my God, get her brother. And they all ran to the house, and my brother comes out, puts on his Avrex jacket, comes outside, and then the boy just runs off. My brother found him, and then he pulled him up from somewhere and he just threw him. These times, like maybe like 8 years old. My brother's 14.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, him literally like a rag doll. But he's always like, I link karma a lot to like Capricorn, but also 12th house. I feel like we're very prone to our own karma, right?
Yes.
And I feel like, 12th house, people who sit in our 12th house are showing us a lot about karma. And my brother, listen, if my boyfriend did anything to me now, one phone call, my brother will handle it, if that's what I want to happen. But it's just that guilty feeling. Oh, do I want that? No, I don't. But,
honestly, same thing with my brothers. And
yeah.
I've seen it happen. Like, I haven't dealt with that much, but I've seen it played out a little bit with me, a lot with my sister, where like they will come, like, and we're just like that with each other too, honestly, where like if I heard somebody doing something to my siblings, like I'm like fighting and I'm not stopping and I'm never gonna stop. It's like that's the one time in which I'm gonna go in is someone's messing with my immediate family, but yeah, we protect each other very much so, just like that, to the point. And this is so funny, I've like dated this guy like some years back, and he was like new from Boston. I think he came from Florida, and he was cool with a girl who knew my family. And she was like, oh, her brothers let you let them date now. So apparently my brothers went all around town and told people not to talk to me and my sister.
Oh God.
Insane.
That is next level. Oh my God. Yeah.
It's so ridiculous. I'm like, come on.
Yeah, that is a lot, man. But yeah.
1 second, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, the speaker was a little messed up. Sorry about that.
All right. I think we can cut it there, actually.
Oh, okay.
But funny, that was a lot, man. That was an hour and a half. Like, there's so much to talk about. Like,
and I feel like we didn't even scratch the surface too. It's 12
I
house is a
know,
lot.
there was still so much to say, right? There was still so much to say.
Yes.
Okay.
That was so good though. It just moved so organically and smoothly. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. I also think because we've got Sun to Moon conjunction, it's just gonna be easy anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah. Such a close conjunction too.
And I think, have you got South Node? Is my South Node conjunct your moon?
Your South Node or my South Node?
My South Node is conjunct your moon, I think.
Yeah, my moon's 24 Leo.
I don't even know what my South Node is. My Mars is 27 Leo.
Oh,
I think my South Node is conjunct. Yeah, so looks like someone was someone's mum, yeah? Because in the 12th house. How weird is that?
I've been meeting like my past life children. Like, I know some girl who her ascendant is exactly to the very minute on my moon.
No,
so I was like,
way.
Yes, it's insane. So I'm like, oh my God, you were my child.
Yeah.
And we make a joke about it. It's so funny.
Oh my God.
Yes, insane. I've been meeting a lot of people like that where it's exact conjunctions almost to the minute or to the minute. It's insane. It's beautiful though. It's like, what are the odds?
Yeah, that is very strange.
Yeah.
Even like, with my boyfriend, we've got, I think his South Node is conjunct my moon. My moon sits just on the cusp of his 4th house.
So y'all were each other's mom then.
Yeah, and also his sun is 1 degree from my ascendant.
Wow.
But there's a lot of like interlinks that kind of show that there is like someone was a parent here because we live together, right? And I tell you, it's like we're both kids, but we both have as well. Just the constant like, who left this cup here? Who put that? Come and clean this up. This is how it's every day.
That is hilarious.
Yeah, that is exactly how it was.
That is so cute. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That is, do you guys have well, I know you all mentioned the 4th house or the IC connection. Do you have any other 4th house synastry or overlays at all?
What's in my 4th house? Oh, his ascendant sits in my 4th house.
Wow. Oh my God. So no wonder it's kind of like a family feel. That's so cute.
It's just ridiculous. And by the way, we are Venus and Aries composite, so I won't say anything nice about him because that's mean, isn't it?
You're like, yeah, whatever. That is so cute. Oh my gosh.
That's exactly how it is.
That is awesome. Yeah, I have another weird thing too. Like my brother's son is exactly on my North Node too, to the very minute.
Oh my, to the very minute.
Very minute. It's insane.
That.
It's so weird. My family, like, in another weird thing, I told you my big family, right?
Yes.
I think 6 out of 8 of no, because including my parents too. So this is like, with all of us is 10 people, including my parents. So 8 out of 10 of us are Air Venus.
Oh my days.
The other 2 are both Leo Venuses.
The poor Leos, man.
I know.
Oh, I can't get the attention they deserve. God.
I know, we're so detached and fucked up. It's terrible. It's terrible. But like my the Leo Venus though, it's so funny because you know, it's my oldest brother who passed. And
Yeah.
it's so true, like, because he was such an influence, but when he passed, the shift, it was a huge shift within the family where we were extremely detached, and we weren't that detached before. And so the other Leo moon, I mean not Leo moon, excuse me, Leo Venus is the youngest boy. And so, like, my mom, strange enough, like, baby the hell out of him more than me. And I'm the youngest, by the way. But she babies him. And so it's kind of, it worked itself out. But without him as that influence, we are just way more detached than we need to be. It is a problem.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
One more, because this is so long, but like, have you ever had Venus in the 12th house in Synastry?
Ooh, let me think. Have I? I don't think I ever dated anyone with
Really?
their Venus in the 12th. And with me, I would never know because I only two guys I've dated, I have their birth times.
Right.
It's a damn shame.
My he's got his Venus in my 12th house.
How is that?
I really like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like it. Like, I quite like it. I know a lot of people, well, I think it depends anyway on the condition of someone's Venus, but we also have Venus aspect Neptune. So a lot of like, I can't even lie. I think I had a lot of like expectations of like how he would change my life when he came in. A lot of value and stuff. And it's just not what I thought it was. It's not like, I expected so much more, but that's me being in this fantasy world. And also I was a little bit delusional. But it's weird because this man could do a lot wrong, but I'm gonna love him regardless.
Right.
And I think like the beauty of having like someone's Venus in your 12th house is that there is just this, you love them regardless of anything. And to be fair, he's not like a bad guy, but like the state of my house, and I've got a Virgo in my 4th house, I'm not happy with it, and that's our main issue. Is that it's living. I think we're Leo risings actually, Scorpio in the 4th house, so home life is mad intense for us.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, I really like Venus in the 12th house. I know it's not like ideal for everyone, but I quite like it. There's a lot of like unconditional love going on.
It's quite, I hear it can be quite magical, but really, if someone's like, either is the Venus is all messed up aspect wise, or if the person's not ready to open up that much, I've seen it really mess up. Like, I've actually had a crush on somebody whose Neptune was exactly on my sun. Oh my God. It was a mess. And because I'm like here, like, I'm the one that was delusional because I was seeing him as Neptune, right?
Yeah.
So I'm the one just totally enthralled. And then I just had this snap of reality that hit so hard.
But don't you think that's like a really soulmate-y type of connection though?
It is.
I know it's just not like ideal, but it's just that feeling that it gives you.
Yes. So I know for sure that me and him definitely had a past life connection. Mind you, he's just a crush. Like, I barely talk to the dude, right?
Yeah.
And his Venus is exactly on my south node, and then also his Neptune exactly on my sun. So it's and that energy is trining, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah, but it's just it was a real, this just happens a lot with Neptune relationships I see, where if it's not really connecting right, you will drop down from heaven. and just
Yeah.
jump into earth, and you're like, oh my gosh, I was tripping. Like,
Yeah.
like we would never work. Why was I thinking? It's just so like a Alice in Wonderland vibe almost,
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think we gotta go now because this can go on and on.
I know.
It
But
can go
this
on
is
and
so great.
on. Okay, so let me just put up my social media. Instagram, Honey's Astro, website honeysastro.com, YouTube, Honey's Astro, Twitter, Honey's Astro. I am available for readings. Please read the website details before you book. And yeah, that's me. What's your social media?
Yep. So my website is astrodim.space. Twitter, the Astrodim. And Instagram, the_Astrodim. TikTok, the Astrodim.
Oh, you got TikTok as well?
Yeah. I haven't really done anything with it, but I'm planning to in the future.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, girl, I will see you later. I will be
Oh,
posting soon.
all right. Thank you so much for inviting me.
No problem. Take care.
You too.